Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags, and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good morning, everyone. It's July 22nd, 2018. So, I'm here at DC Clothesline. And, you know, I frequently use this website for news. But, there's an example of an individual promoting you liking or being supporter of a group that really hates you as a race. Both groups that they're talking about here hate you as a race. So, anti-Semitic, anti-American, pro-Islamic Congressman Keith Ellison demands Amazon censor books by Southern Poverty Law Center labeled hate groups. And don't get me wrong, the Southern Poverty Law Center does have a couple of actual hate groups, but all in all, they're full of shit. They say the absolute hypocrisy of the criminally minded in our country knows no bounds, and Congressman Hakeem Muhammad, aka Keith Ellison, is demonstrating just that. After being a member of the Nation of Islam, which promotes black power and racism against whites. Let me stop right there. Yes, the Nation of Islam does promote hatred towards whites, but so do the Jews. The Nation of Islam don't have nearly the influence on our country as the Jews do. I mean, really, the Israeli lobby is the strongest lobby in this country, and they control everything. Everything. And I'm not the only one who believes this. Congressmen, senators, among others, and these people are in a position to see exactly what happens there on the floor of Congress, where they have to, ask the question, what do the Israelis think about this bill or that bill? So, okay, after being a member of Nation Islam, which promotes black power and racism against whites, working with anti-American, pro-Islamic groups such as the Council on American Islamic Relations, the Muslim American Society, and the Islamic Society of North America, and promoting what God condemns as Vice Chair of Lesbian, Homosexual, Bisexual, Transgender Caucus, Ellison had the audacity to demand that Amazon stop selling books and other materials that the corrupt and lying hate group known as the Southern Poverty Law Center have hypocritically labeled as hate groups. In a letter written to Amazon CEO and CIA tied Jeff Bezos, Ellison wrote, I am writing you with my concerns about the amount of money Amazon has made from the sale of literature and music published by entities identified as hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Oh, I get it. So, I'll tell you what, these people are fucking nuts. I'm going to be sharing a couple clips from a video I found. This individual put all the clips together of the Jewish lobby. So what this dickhead is concerned about is that these groups are on the list of hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, do you see how these groups are working together? The Israeli lobby and the Muslim or American Islamic Relations, the Islamic Society of North America, all these groups, they're working together. And I would be willing to bet that most of these groups are Christian, white groups. Okay, so the Southern Poverty Law Center can't truly back up their claims of many individuals and groups that they have maligned over the years and even incite murderous intentions among their followers, yet Ellison demonstrates that he wants to attack those who are innocent of the very things which he is guilty. What Ellison is doing is nothing shy of wanting to shut down his opposition and using his position illegally as a congressman. He is attempting to set up the process to push for Congress to violate the First Amendment, even worse than it already has been, by writing pretended laws or law to shut down freedom of the press and freedom of speech. This is just the first step. As Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch writes, clearly Ellison wants Amazon, which has, with Barnes & Noble, a virtual monopoly on book sales in the U.S., to stop selling books by people designated as hate groups. Well, number one, an individual person cannot be a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Like the establishment media, Ellison assumes that the SPLC is a reliable, unbiased arbiter of what is and isn't a hate group. I mean, the Jews, they have a monopoly on what's considered hate groups or not, right? I mean, after all, they were the biggest victims in history of racism, right? No, it wasn't them, but their intended victims. The SPLC's hard-left bias and determination to destroy legitimate conservative groups by lumping them in with neo-Nazi and white supremacists is now, or is nowhere recognized. And they are, I'm not saying that neo-Nazi groups are good, or white supremacist groups, because they do promote a authoritarian ideology, and I just don't like authoritarianism at all. So, the far left Bezos likely also thinks that the SPLC is a reliable authority, and so it is entirely possible that he will comply with Ellison's demands and purge Amazon of all materials by people that the SPLC has smeared and defamed. Given Amazon's dominance of the book market, or that would be a serious blow to the freedom of speech, as the SPLC is making an all-out attempt to delegitimize the full spectrum of opinion that dissents from the leftist agenda on Islam, immigration, social issues, and more. If Amazon drops SPLC designated hate material, there should ensue a national discussion about whether the SPLC is really a reliable authority and whether only the or one viewpoint should be allowed in the public square. If not, this will just be another nail in the coffin of freedom of speech in the U.S. Ellison has spoken at a convention of the Islamic Society of North America, yet ISNA has actually admitted its ties to Hamas, which styles itself after the Palestinian arm of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Justice Department actually classified ISNA among other entities who are and were members of the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood. So we got two groups in this country tearing it apart. We have the Islamic lobby, who isn't nearly as powerful as the Jewish lobby, but these two groups work together to get hatred stirring up for white people. Now, at first, I didn't really think there was a whole lot to this white genocide thing, and I do apologize for that. There's a lot more to it than I previously thought. And it was after watching news clip after news clip, seeing publication after publication of certain entities, certain groups of people smearing us as if we're somehow the most evil thing on this planet. So it gets worse. In 2008, Ellison accepted $13,350 from the Muslim American Society to go on a pilgrimage to Mecca. The Muslim American Society is a Muslim Brotherhood organization. In recent years, the U.S. Brotherhood operated under the name Muslim American Society, according to documents and interviews. Now, there's something you should know about these Muslim groups. They have jihadi training camps right here in the United States. A lot of them. Where are the Oath Keepers and the militias on this? Where is, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies? They're allowing these groups to operate. Why? Well, in my opinion, they operate because it's intentional. They actually do want white people purged from this planet. Now, there's certain countries out there, Russia, for example, who are trying to save whiteness, but there's more countries out there trying to destroy the Western culture that's been created over thousands of years and replace it with what? Well, I'll tell you what. All you have to do is look at Haiti, South Africa, Rwanda, and, shitty little Asian villages and countries. That's what they want to turn this world into. If you're poor and starving and struggling, well, goddamn, how are you going to fight for your freedom? You're not. But at the center of all of this is the Israelis. They're the ones that are pushing for this. And this video is on Johnny Gat, his channel. I will leave the link in the description box for his channel. He does. He took the time to splice all of these clips together, so I have to give full credit to him. he saved me a few hours of work here. But I'm not going to sit here and do the whole 1 hour and 35 minutes. I'm just going to randomly skip around and show you what these people say about us, in particular, the Israelis.
Well, since 1949, Washington's provided Israel with more than $120 billion in financial aid. The annual donation is around $3 billion, sometimes more, sometimes less. Friends don't give non-friends that much money. And surely Washington will never roast Netanyahu over something like this.
This is an anti-Israel administration. It's the first administration in American history that is obviously anti-Israel. It's borderline a Jew-hating administration. There can be no question at this point that the daylight that has been created.
See, this is one of the reasons I have a strong dislike for dickhead Ben Shapiro, because he has his own agenda, and it's for his people, the Israelis, the Jewish community. He does say some good things, but at the end of the day, he is just a Jewish person who has an agenda at heart that serves his people.
Between the United States and Israel has emboldened Israel's enemies and enemies of the United States.
How do you say that? I mean, that Iron Dome system, Ben, that they are using so effectively in Israel tonight was largely funded in part by the United States, hundreds of millions of dollars under President Barack Obama.
Well, the President of the United States still is going to sign over money to Israel because it's politically unpalatable not to do so.
The truth is, Mr. President, your policy in Israel is unsustainable. The American people are on the side of Israel and Israel's right to defend herself. Mr. President.
Okay, so this guy is here saying that the American people at large are on the side of Israel. And I'm going to tell you why this is. Because there's this book called the Bible. And the Bible says that, you know, if you don't serve the Jewish people, you are doomed to hell, basically. I mean, that's the real simplistic version. And it's much more detailed than that. And this is one of the reasons I have problems with the Christian faith. I'm going to tell you why. It's very clear that the Jewish community back during biblical times, they manipulated, antagonized, what's the word I'm looking for here? They instigated the assassination of Jesus Christ. Okay? Jesus Christ was clearly against these people. Clearly. Even though many people believe he was born one of them, a Jew. How can he be a Jew if he's the Son of God? Is God Jewish? I don't think so. I don't think God would slap any such label upon himself. As a matter of fact, I doubt that God would want us, his creations, to slap any such label on ourselves.
President, whose side are you on?
Your father was right. We are all Jews.
After 10 months of talking, Washington has agreed a record $38 billion military aid package for Israel.
This is the single largest pledge of military assistance to any country in U.S. history. It's a reminder of the United States' unshakable commitment to Israel's security.
I'd like to thank President Obama and his administration for this historic deal. I also thank our many, many friends in the American Congress and the American people for their support.
Okay, so behind the scenes, guys like Benjamin Netanyahu, they like to talk shit about the American people. And if I can find the clip, I'm going to do another video, but there's a clip of Netanyahu out there talking about how stupid and idiotic the American people are for supporting Israel. Seriously, there's a clip out there. I believe it's in the a Zionist documentary. I'm going to have to look through this documentary and others that I've watched so I can find it. But he says some pretty nasty shit about Americans. As a matter of fact, he says some pretty nasty shit about white people in general.
With President Obama in his final year, yay. He may be the worst thing to ever happen to Israel.
Now, you see that? This is the ingratitude that these Jews have for our country. Some Israelis see as $38 billion U.S. military aid offer as a failure. $38 billion. Do you know what $38 billion could do if it was specifically set aside for the people of the United States? Do you know what that shit could do? I mean, look at all the homes that stand abandoned and empty across the country. That homes that the bank don't even own. Just, they've been abandoned. That $38 billion could put a lot of homeless families in these homes. But no. It goes to a race of people that, and they consider themselves a race, by the way, that hates the American people.
Believe me. Believe me.
Well, let's talk about Cynthia. There are many reports.
And for those of you who don't know who this is Cynthia McKinney. She is a former congresswoman. You want to pay attention to what this lady says. Even though the host of the show isn't very articulate, what Cynthia McKinney says, you'll see.
That talks about the influence of the Israeli lobby, the AIPAC, on United States politics in general. Did you experience anything in that realm as far as what one would call the interference in American policy by AIPAC? Yes, I first-handedly and also frontally was assaulted by the presence of the pro-Israel lobby to such an extent.
Physically assaulted?
Well, politically assaulted, okay, to such an extent that my father had to ask the question publicly, what does Stone Mountain, Georgia have to do with Israel? What I was doing was servicing the needs of my constituents, and I was not allowed to do that because I did not toe the line on U.S. policy for Israel.
What line is that they wanted? Were you told directly that you had to toe a line, or explain that to me?
Well, every candidate for Congress at that time had a pledge. They were given a pledge to sign. And I was new on the scene. And so the pledge had Jerusalem as the capital city.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
The military superiority of Israel.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge.
Yes.
You know, forget about pledging to the Constitution. You know, that's for suckers. No. They pledge to Israel. the right would like to pretend that the leftists are the only fucking traitors in this country, but the right is just as much of a traitor to this country as the left. They're a traitor to the country and the people in it. And there ain't no denying this. But you will. You will deny it if you're on the right, and you'll deny it on the left. But the truth of the matter is, you're both fucking traitors. You're traitors to your own people. Now, I would rather see the black and white communities stop fighting with each other. We can settle our differences later on, but right now, we have a bigger problem than each other, especially as white people. And that problem is these two lobbying groups, the Islamic lobbying groups and the Israeli lobbying groups. These two groups are the key to why we're seeing all this, what will I call it, decadence promoted here. You know, the gay, lesbian, whatever the fucking acronym is for community, the trans community. Just anything that is opposite to our culture is being promoted by these two groups.
Sign the pledge. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. So, for example, it was almost like water torture for me. My parents observed this. I would get a call, and the person on the other end of the phone would say, I want to do a fundraiser for you. And then we would get into the planning. I would get really excited because, of course, you have to have money in order to run a campaign. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the planning, they would say, did you sign the pledge? And then I would say, no, I didn't sign the pledge. And then my fundraiser would go kaput. So, well, I just want
to... So if you don't sign this pledge to Israel as a congressman or woman, you don't get money for your district. You don't get money for your district. And how can they have that much power? It's easy. It's very easy. They control the biggest banks. They control the Federal Reserve. They control many of the entertainment, if not all of the entertainment corporations, you know, like Fox and MSNBC and all these mainstream media outlets. They control all of them. So it's easy to see how they control the money as well, and how they would deny a person access to this money if they don't sign this pledge. You want to know who's really causing problems in this country? Just watch this video. You'll see. It's plain as day. I'm going to end it right here. I hope everyone has a great day, and remember, kill the state before the state kills you.
I keep my head up, and you will end this.
I'm just getting warmed up. This is Von Clausewitz shit. Total fucking war. I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gonna be biblical.